Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Harry here, and today we're going to discuss about the Python built-in function, right? So what is Python built-in function? Well, Python built-in function are predefined functions that are available as a part of the Python programming language, right? So these functions are built into the function interpret and can be used directly without the need of importing any specific modules, right? So they cover a wide range of functionality, right, and are designed to perform like common operations, right? So, this function provide a convenient way to perform operations such as mathematical calculations, right? So string manipulations, data type conversion, input output operations, like and we have iterable manipulations and more, right? So basically I will guide you through how to use this, right? So it's very super easy, right? And you just need to remember certain operation is done through certain function, right? So there's also limitation on the function. So let's start with the first, right? So I'll put a mark down that stand for m, right? You select the block and you put the m, right, just for markdown. And I'm also guiding you how to use the Jupyter notebook, right? So ABS, right, small letter, always small letter for the function, right? So then I will put a markdown, I'll put into this size, right? So basically what is ABS, right? So ABS return the absolute value, right? So it stands for the absolute value of a number, right? So let's say how does it work? If I say number and you am, right? So let's say minus 124, right? Then I will say okay, I really want to use a ABS now. ABS value, I'm declare a new variable, right? So there we go. So basically now over here we have to put a ABS, right? So then after that num, right? So I'm gonna run this, then I'm gonna use that ABS value, right? So you don't need to put a print over here, so it's automatic, right? So now you can see it's 1 2 4, right? The negative value has been removed from there, right? So okay, so another we're gonna use len, right? So basically len, and that stand for length, right? So what basically is a len, right? So when it's come to len, len is basically return the length of the object. Let's say we have a certain length of an object, right? Let's say because I feel comfortable working with the list comprehension, right? So let's say like number 2 equal to, right, so x for x in range, right? Let's say 100, and we have the gap of 2, right? And when I gonna print this, right, print num2, now you can see over here, that's how it shows over here, right? So now I really want to know the length of this, right? So len, right, so num2, right? And you can see over here, that's why I use a print function over here. If you put the print, it's basically come on this way, and if you put the num, now it's look like this, right? So basically now you can see over here, right, len, and basically if you check the len over here, that is 45. If you count all of this number, it should be total 45, right? So that's what the len stand for, right? So if we have did a len, so let's do some easy one, right? Inside this num2, right, I will say max, right? So this is another one, max. Okay, what is max? So max stand for maximum, right? So basically what is do is like return the maximum value of, from the sequences, right? So let's say max, right, and num2. Now you can see over here 98 is the max, and that is our 98, right? Same with the minimum, right? So let's stand for min, that's the minimum, right? And well, I'm gonna use this, right? I will say like min, right, and I will say num2. There you go, that's a 10. So basically hopefully you remember all the standard deviations, mean, variations, and the maximum, minimum, right? So those kind of things most probably can be done on the pandas, right? But when you are using Python and build function, you can drive your own algorithm, and those are the algorithm which basically gonna help you to find the mean values and all the thing, right? So let's take example, right? I really want to give you an example. Let's say we have a len, right? So we are using this len to find the mean value of our all this data point, right? So basically what I'm gonna do so I'm gonna show you some cool stuff, right? So let's say num, let's say sum, right? So let me guide you through the sum first, right? So let's say we have sum. So sum is basically gonna sum all of those number inside our list, right? So let's say sum, and num2. Now you can see over here the overall sum is like 2430 of this, right? So now what I'm gonna do next, oops, why the highlighter is here? So yeah, so what I'm gonna do next right now is I'm gonna check the average, right? So for the average I will say overall, that is the sum of all num2 right? Then I will say len of num2, right? Now you can see over here the average is 54. I'm like 54, right? So if you want to know is it correct or not, let's say import math, right? And let's say import statistics, which should be fine. Yeah, statistics, right? So I'll say SST, right? So if I want to know what is the average, right? This is our average, right? So average, right? Let's say in case I'm just saving this, like into a variable. So let's say I made no, not math, right? So let's say st dot okay, you can see over here I pressed the tab, right? After pressing the tab, you can see over here, so the linear model mean, yeah, there you go, that's the mean, right? So let's say mean, and we can put like num2, right? So now you can see over here is saying like 54, right? Because we use the statistic model, that is our Python built-in functions statistic model, right? I will also tell you about this. I will also guide you about this, how to use my math, so how to use statistics, right? Basically, if you're an engineer, if you're doing like civil engineering, if you're a mechanical engineer or any kind of engineer, right? Basically, you can use this math and statistics to save your time and also to calculate whatever you want, right? So next, after the minimum, so after maximum minimum sum, we will go about round, right? So how to round a value, right? Let's say round, right? So this is very important, and it's very important. Oh, sorry, the size will be fine. So let's say I have a value of pi, right? So pi like 3.14159. Okay, so I have a value of pi. So now I want to know how to round up the pi, right? So basically I will say I will say pi round, right? So then I will say round, right? Then after rounding up I will say pi, right? And I will give those two round off, right? If I want to round 2 time, right? So basically 2 decimal point, I will say 2, right? So if I type back pi round, then you can see over here that comes up. If I put over here 4, right, then I run this, it will comes like 4 decimal point, right? So basically that's round off of this one, right? So if I put 3 over here, now you can see over here, so that's how it's work, right? It's really cool. Okay, so let's move on, right? So after round, let's talk about the short. This is the one of the most important, right? So we have to short the value, right? Sometimes what's happened is in our values there's a lot of irregularities, right? So we want them in an ascending order and descending order, right? We want number into the ascending order and descending order, so we have to sort the value, right? So now we're gonna use a sort, right? So now we're gonna use a sort, right? So basically let's say SORTED, right? So guys, you have to remember all of this, right? Because when you are manipulating onto pandas data frame, most of the time you also gonna need this, right? Because you cannot depend on the pandas all the time, right? So let's say we have number, right, and we're gonna declare the number some irregular number, right? So all the variables are irregularly or randomly is configured in our list, right? So let's say 1 2 3, right, 5 3 2, let's say 8 9 1 2, right, and let's say 23, right, 12 44, right, 21 and 34, right? So there's also duplicate, right? So let's not worry about duplicate at the moment, right? Let's say ascending, right? Ascending, right? So ascending, and then we have to sort this, right? And sort it. So that's how we write, right? And after that we'll type a number over here. So we're gonna run this and we'll say ascending, right? So if it's ascending, we run this. Now you can see over here it's in ascending order. So 1 1, then 2, then 3, then 5 8 9 12 21 23 34 and 44, right? So basically that's how it's work. Okay, so now I want in a descending order, right? So let's say DESCE and DING. I'm declaring a variable. Let's say sorted, right? Then I will write a number over here, right? I'll put a number. Then you put a after number you put a the comma over there just to separate that. Then you type reverse, right? Reverse, then you put true over there. Okay, so after that you say descending, right, then you can see over here that is in opposite, it's printed in opposite directions. Okay, so now you can see the counting number start from higher to lower. Okay, so well, hopefully you guys understand this one, right? So let's move on to next. And uh, okay, so let's talk about the range now. Yeah, so range. So you guys remember, like, I use a lot of for loop, right? So basically if I say let's say value, right, value equal to, and I say I for I in range. So don't worry about this I, j, k, or this x, y, z. So just need to be any variables, right? So as long as you understand, right? But when you are building an algorithm or you are working on a project, so please be careful with that. But right now I'm just teaching you, so I'm gonna use anything just to make you understand. Like, you can use anything, right? So if I put a value over here, now you can see, oh, I really want to use print over here. So because I don't want it into, yeah, I want it like this, right? So there we go. So now you can see over here, we have the values over here, right? So basically I have used the range over here. So range, what is range used for, right? So basically when you use a range, it has a specific need and terms, right? So for range you have to specify two value, that is the two argument inside those parentheses, right? So return a sequences of number within a specific range, right? So let me show you how this work, right? So if I say range, right, so 1 to 10. Okay, so you define range, right? Then you define the two value, initial and final value, right? I'm gonna run this. Now you can see over here range 1 to 10, right? If I say value equal to range, right, then I say value. Now you can see over here range 1 to 10, right? So basically how we gonna even use to print the number with the help of the range? So I will say for I in, right, I in value, right? So basically I'm just remaking those algorithm, right? And basically you can see over here that I have used a list comprehension, so I'm trying to just break down into for loop. I'm like a simple for loop, right? So let's say print I. Now you can see over here it's automatically printed till 1 to 9, right? That's how the range work. Okay, so it's really easy, it's super easy, so don't need to be very confused about this side. So let's talk about next input, right? So hopefully you guys remember about the input, how we take a user input, right? So input, so let's say I have to input something, right? So I will say name 1 equal to input, right? So there you go. So I will say Harry, right? So name 1 equal to Harry, right? So another way is to say, like, I just want the string, or I'm like, I just want the integer, so I have to specify. I will say str, that stand for string. So but the standard of our input is string, so don't need to worry about that. So standard, I'm like, the standard data types for the input is a string, right? So let's say Harry, and I put a number over here, right? Then I will say number, sorry, I will say name 1, right? So now you can see over here that's become a string. So basically now we're gonna change into number, right? So now we're gonna take our input as a number, right? So let's say number 1 equal to int, right? So input, so basically this define the input should be integer, right? So let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? So if I like if I run this, then you can see over here there's a number over there, right? So basically if I do something like, I'll copy this again, right, just to keep it nice and clean, right? So if I run this, then I'll say 1 2 3, then I will use a decimal point, and 4 5 6, right? Now you can see over here that says value error, because it's only take a integer, right? It doesn't take a floating point. If I say float, right, if I run this now 1 2 3, right, now you can see over here it will take both of them, integer and a float. If I run this, now you can see over here, if I say 1 2 3.456, now you can see over here, yep, there we go. So that's super easy in it. So that's how it's work, especially when you're taking an input, right? And well, hopefully you guys really enjoy this video, and I really want to make more videos, right? Because this video will be enough for today, just to make you understand how the Python inbuilt function work, right? So this is the first part. So most probably we have a plenty of the Python inbuilt functions. We're going to talk about that, and after that we're going to also talk about how to use this math and statistic, right? And we'll also gonna basically we also gonna build an algorithm to check the standard deviations, mean, variations, and we're gonna use this math and statistic to validate those algorithm, right? And we're also gonna do like a simple mathematics like a Pythagoras theorem, right? Solving algebra questions with the help of import math, right? And we're also gonna do some geometry. So basically that will help you to build your foundations on programming, and especially how to use this Python inbuilt function. It's very handy, guys. Even you use a pandas data frame or polar, right? You use a numpy, most probably you're gonna need all of this, right? This kind of all the Python built-in function, because I'm saying it from my work experience side, is basically gonna need everywhere, especially to save time. You know, you cannot go through all the algorithm just to just to check the sum, right? So you basically have to use the sum to sum up all those list or the what kind of data you're dealing with, right? So guys, hopefully you have learned something new from this video, and hopefully guys you have fun, right? So I want you guys to do your own research and do your own experiment, right? So guys, if any questions, leave in a comment section, and thank you so much for supporting, right? I will see you in the next video, right? Cheers guys.